Hi, Zachary. It's so wonderful to see you. I really have enjoyed watching the show, so congratulations.
Oh, thanks so much. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. So just diving right in, Michael Grassi shared that he had this passion project inspired by Oliver Sacks and he thought of you first for bringing it to life. So, what was it like being approached with that?
I feel so grateful for that, especially now that I've had the experience of working with Michael Grassi, who is one of the most delightful and collaborative and positive bosses I've ever had. Yeah, it's a real honor. And then everything I've gotten to learn about Oliver Sacks and the depth of his contribution to the field of neurology and to the art form of literature and just his endless curiosity. I knew a little bit about him. I knew who he was and was a big fan of Awakenings, the movie with Robin Williams and Robert De Niro, directed by Penny Marshall, which is inspired by Oliver Sacks' life and work. But I didn't know a fraction of what I know now. So that opportunity has been such a gift as well. So, I'm deeply grateful to Michael for thinking of me for the role, and I'm so glad to have been able to play him.
Yeah, and I am a huge fan of medical dramas. They're definitely a soft spot for me, but this one, is so important because it has this gay lead. It's inspired by, a real person. So, what does that kind of representation mean to you personally?
I mean, it is interesting to be playing the first openly gay doctor on a primetime medical drama, primetime network medical drama. But I think part of the reason that it's significant is because it's just one aspect of who this character is, and it really reflects the progress that we've made, certainly in the time since Oliver Sacks was at the height of his career. He was celibate for 35 years of his life. And when I first found that out, I thought to myself, how is that even possible that someone would divest themselves of such an essential part of the human experience? And then the more I examined it and really leaned into what could have motivated a decision like that, I realized that perhaps, and I unfortunately never had the chance to meet Oliver Sacks or to talk to him about this, but the idea of being a gay man in particular at that time in the middle 20th century was a singularly defining issue. And if you were a gay man then you were a gay whatever it was that you did, a gay doctor in this case. You were a gay doctor, and also it had the unfortunate impact of really diminishing people's opportunities and the contributions that they could make to a given field because of discrimination and rejection and alienation of people based on who they were. So it became more evident to me that it was likely, if not, it was possible, if not likely, that Oliver Sacks made that choice so that he could continue to make the contributions to the field of neurology and in the field of literature that he knew he was singularly designed to make. And so me being an openly gay actor playing an openly gay doctor on a network primetime medical drama is a real hallmark for how we've evolved from that time to now. And that it's only one aspect of who I am as a person and an actor, and it's only one aspect of the character I play is at odds with the truth of what Oliver Sacks experienced. And I think that's the miracle of our human experience.
Yeah, I love that you brought that up. I definitely wanted to talk about, that we really round him out as a person and dive into, so many different aspects of who he is. And the show also does a really great job of diving into neurological disorders and mental health, which is something that is still often stigmatized today. So, what do you hope audiences will take away in terms of destigmatizing mental illness?
Well, I think, with neurological disorders and mental illness, oftentimes there is no fix, there is no cure, there is no return to maybe the sense of normal that people grew accustomed to before they were confronted with these um, very difficult challenges in their lives. So I feel like that in and of itself is reflective of real life in a way that hopefully audiences will come to these stories and see themselves in them, and see their own experiences in the characters and in the cases and the patients, and maybe it could even generate conversations that might be difficult to have or might not be being had otherwise. I think obviously any television should be entertaining, right? People want to come and laugh and cry and romance and drama and intrigue and all of that stuff. But if it can also be somehow substantive or generate conversations, then I've always said, Michael Grassi and I have always said that if people see themselves in the show, then that means we're doing our jobs. And so I think the complexity of it, the brain, the mind, consciousness is the last frontier of the human experience, isn't it? So we can all relate, everybody has their own experience with the mind and with the brain. And I think we've all been touched by neurological diseases and disorders and mental health issues in our own ways in our lives. And so I think it's ripe for storytelling. And part of the reason that it's ripe for storytelling is that it's ripe for identifiability. And people, I think, will hopefully see that when they watch it.
Oh yes, I definitely agree. And I know that
Mm.
because of the subject matter of the show, you had to learn a lot about the human brain. So, is there a like favorite fact that you had during your studying and processing and throughout this whole project about the human brain?
I mean, I can't tell you how many times I would read scripts like early in the season and it'd be like, well, this is made up, that and it's not ever made up. Everything that we explore in the show is real. For me personally, I think the most interesting thing that I got to learn more about is a condition called prosopagnosia, which is face blindness. So Oliver Sacks in real life suffered from this condition. Oliver Wolf, my character on the show, suffers from this condition, and it's one of the portals of understanding different perspectives that we're able to utilize in the storytelling structure of the show. So the fact that Oliver Wolf suffers from prosopagnosia um, necessitates him looking at things from different points of view, right? So someone with face blindness can't recognize someone by their facial features alone. So if you met me, for example, and then you saw me again 2 days later, you wouldn't recognize this. Now you might be able to say, "I remember those glasses," or "I remember that mustache," but the face itself you would not recognize. So if I didn't have the glasses or the mustache, so how does somebody with this condition navigate their experience in the world without seeming rude or without seeming disconnected somehow? And there are many other ways that they can do that practically, but then it also unlocks other parts of people's brains and consciousness that someone without the condition wouldn't benefit from. So it's the idea of a brilliant mind being somebody that may be hindered in ways. A lot of our patients deal with adversities that many people would consider insurmountable, but Oliver Sacks and therefore Oliver Wolf, they're doctors who are driven by the belief that it's possible to still find dignity, to still find joy and meaning and purpose in life, even in the face of great adversity. And I think that that's an uplifting message that, especially in this day and age, um, people want to hear.
Yeah, no, and I agree, and I love the passion that you're really bringing to this character. You can tell how much they really mean to you. Is there a specific part of the show that you are most proud of and excited for audiences to see?
It's hard for me to the kind of the interesting thing and the exciting thing about this moment that we're in right now. We got to make the first season of the show in a vacuum. We got to tell these stories with each other, for each other, and inspired by the creative collaboration that Michael Grassi really fosters on all of his projects. And now we get to invite the audience into that experience. So it's so difficult to anticipate what audiences are going to respond to. For me, the most enjoyable parts of the process have been getting to know my co-stars, getting to work with all of these people, and feel inspired by their personal connections to the characters and the stories. And I think that for me has been the most fulfilling, and I anticipate when the audience comes to the table will continue to be. But hearing everybody's relationship to this realm of the human experience, the mind and consciousness and neurological diseases and disorders and mental health. And I think the more we can talk about all of that, the better off we'll all be. And that I think is a message worth amplifying. And I'm grateful to be a part of a project um, that is endeavoring to amplify it.
And you did tease, working with your co-stars. So I did want to ask, what kind of relationships can we expect to see Oliver Wolf go through throughout the season?
Well, we explore a lot of different aspects of his life, his work relationships, his friendship with Carol Pierce, who is the head of psychiatry at Bronx General and who recruits Oliver Wolf to come and work there. They have a long history as friends, and we get to explore that dynamic. We get to explore Oliver Wolf's relationship with his family of origin, his parents, and the impact that they had on his life, and who he has become and who he is becoming. There are definitely some romantic explorations on the show, and Oliver Wolf is required to explore and dismantle some of the walls that he's put up around himself, and regarding intimacy and romantic connection. And then you get to experience all of the relationships between the other doctors. There are four young interns at the hospital. We meet a wide ranging cast of characters and how they all impact one another's lives, and what the ripples of those interactions are throughout all of these characters' lives, is really at the heart of Brilliant Minds. And I think it's also at the heart of life. And so that's really the parallel that we're looking to draw, and hopefully the parallel that audiences will pick up on when they watch the show.